And so the next question that I wanted to also address that you were talking about is in terms of the sex games that the porter and the girls have, and that sort of interaction. And I agree with you that there is humor intended to it for sure. And it's funny, especially when, as I think Sarah mentions, the porter goes in and finally, like you say, you put it really nicely, Sarah, the porter tries to hold on to his drunken ego by stating that his tool was known as the mighty ungulate mule who feeds on the basil of bridges, feasts on husked sesame, and stays the night in Father Mansour's khan. So you say he ties all these names together in a way that suggests he is the conqueror of their sex. I agree, that is very, very nicely put. And I think it sort of represents the, his inability to really understand the moral that the young women are trying to get across to him, and that he still is in that mindset of like men being the conquerors of women, right? Of women's sexuality and women's bodies. So if we read it beyond, if we read a little bit deeper into it and try to connect it to the frame narrative of Shahrazad, one of the ways you see it is that one of the ways you can read it, and I'd love to hear what you all think, is that, well, the porter has basically three chances to try and get the lesson, right? So they keep repeating the lesson and say, well, guess what my, what I call my vagina. And he keeps trying to guess and come up with these names. What he isn't able to get is that, stop guessing and give them the autonomy and say, this is your terrain. It's not my business to try and guess what you would call your private part, your vagina. And he doesn't get it. In fact, he stays within that mind frame of the conqueror, right? And so, and the funny thing about it is like the humor of it. If hopefully, if we think about Shahrazad, she's trying to get across to the Sultan is women's autonomy, right? Women's autonomy over their own bodies, and the porter doesn't get it. And so what she's trying to say is like, look, women have a right to their own bodies. They have a right to their own sexuality, which to us is to us is not a new concept in this age and time, right? However, we're talking about, this is like in medieval times. And so for her to be even trying to get that idea across is pretty powerful. So I'm sure you all can see why she's considered to be in Arabic literature. The character of Shahrazad is considered to be empowered. But like, that's kind of the underlying narrative that, Shahrazad probably hopes the Sultan would get is that idea that women should have a right to their own body, right? And then she's able to frame it within that, part where, well, these are women who are beautiful, and yet they are, she is kind of really pushing the boundaries of their own sexual autonomy and power over their own body, right? Even though they don't really cross the line with the porter here. And so she keeps it that way. But, the hopes is that with time, the Sultan will get that women should have power over their own, that they should have sexual autonomy. And we'll see in the next tales that there's going to be more women who do exercise, their sexual power and sexual autonomy. And so she presents like different types of women to the Sultan to sort of give him the idea that there is a variety of women, that not all women are exactly the same, which I know some of you commented in earlier posts and other posts that it's quite a courageous and admirable task that she's taking on, her believing in the capacity to change people, to change somebody's mind, right? To not use violence, which is something Vernisi says, but I think someone phrased it really nicely, that that's kind of the choice that she takes, to believe in his humanity, or to appeal to it at least. So anyway, just wanted to get you all to think about this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll check in later again.